Time has gone 5 minutes after the hour, 6 o'clock, and it's a very good evening to you, and welcome to our broadcast, and brought to you courtesy of Government Communication and Information System, the GCIS, alongside the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development. This being our 13th episode of this series of programs, and we'd like to welcome you and thank you so much that you've taken time to be part of this broadcast of this evening. And let me thank all the radio stations that are partnering with us this evening and making sure that this broadcast is reaching your listeners. We really appreciate it. My name is Karabolanso Stolana Saba Pedil Matebele Tabalawalo and Abjumbelo Teleji Mokashonyare Nayo Tisha Government Communication and Information System, the GCIS Ramogole Khoroya Toka Lichole ya Molaotheo, the Justice and Constitutional Development. Mrtleberna lo ena mthelechi go fitlela ka iria ya boshupa ke nye ke lore ya boseswai kana show ya rena ke iri fela e tlebe isa fitli iri ya boseswai. It's only 1 hour, so all the way up until 7 o'clock, and looking forward to your interaction as you always do as a loyal listener to this broadcast. We would like to invite you to be part of it as well this evening, because we're going to be chatting about something that's very interesting. We're chatting about the issue of, or we're going to be discussing rather, the Office of the Family Advocate. And something that I would like to highlight as far as that is concerned is this is their 25th year that they've been doing quite an absolutely awesome job, and we'd like to really congratulate them with the wonderful job they're doing, and wishing them many more prosperous adventures and prosperous service they're giving to the nation. And you're probably asking, okay, now when we're talking about guests this evening, who do we have? Well, we've got here coming for the second time, and pretty excited to be here as well, and I'm pretty excited to receive her back again in our studios. That's the Chief Family Advocate, She's in the studio, and she's going to be chatting to us with regards to issues Office of the Family Advocate. She's not by herself this evening. Now, this part makes me raise my ears a little bit, and I kind of get excited about this one here, because she's brought together Mr. Zibu Sekunene. Yeah, now she's from the organization that's called the Dads in the Picture. Very excited, and looking forward to that as well. So both our studio guests, I'd really like to welcome you. Thank you so much for having made time to be with us this evening. It's a very good evening to you both.
Good evening, Karabo, and good evening to your listeners. It is quite a pleasure to join you tonight.
Good evening, Karabo, and good evening to the listeners.
So there we go. For the next coming hour or so, we're going to be chatting, and most of our objectives are going to be to really educate ourselves about the Office of the Family Advocate, their responsibilities, and so forth. We're going to be highlighting the services they offer at the Office of the Family Advocate. We're going to also be highlighting the successes of the Office of the Family Advocate to date. We're going to try to explain a little bit the role of the Office of the Family Advocate as a central authority for South Africa, as well as perhaps highlighting the role of Dads in the Picture as an organization in encouraging equal parenting. I love that, the whole issue of taking responsibility, equal parenting. I can imagine it's not for one parent, whichever parent it is. It's not only for them to take responsibility or to take up the role they're parenting, but it's for both parents really to take up the role they're parenting, and this is what these guys are doing. In fact, maybe to kick off the show, it's going to be something that's very good to do, so that you can explain to us Dads in the Picture. Who are they actually, and what do they do?
Dads in the Picture is an organization that was formed 3 years ago, and it was mainly formed by a father who himself was looking at the community and the society as it was, also himself being raised by an army of women.
Right.
And an army of a community. So when he looked around, he saw that there was the absence of a father.
Wow.
And he needed one too. And so he wanted to make sure that children also, and his children, grew up with a dad in their life. So he then also paid particular attention to other friends who were in the social media space, right, who were like-minded. And so they came together and said, guys, since we all have this common mindset between us, let us form this organization together. This is the vision, to make sure that each and every child has a dad, that we encourage responsible fatherhood amongst men.
Absolutely.
And
awesome.
so that's how the organization then started.
We're going to be finding out a little bit more about that, and I'm going to be bringing Mr. Kunene into the picture. Dad's in the picture. There we go. So we're going to be chatting a little bit about that as well. Number to dial this evening if you want to interact with us. Perhaps if there's some questions that you would like to ask as far as our topic for this evening is concerned, I would like to invite you to please call us on this toll-free number if you're going to be calling from a Telkom line. It's very, very easy. It's 0800 142 446. Let me repeat it again. It's 0800 142 446, toll free if you're going to be calling from a landline. Check us out on Facebook as well. All those Facebook fanatics. You can go at the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development. Otherwise, on Twitter, it's very easy at DOJCD_ZA, at DOJCD_ZA. Somebody might be saying, hey, now as far as language is concerned this evening, well, we'll be taking all the languages. Really feel comfortable to speak to us in any language of your choice, and we'd really like to hear from you. Government Communication and Information System, the GCS, nomnyango we Justice and Constitutional Development, kanye National Prosecuting Authority as well. Kamalam Gukarabo Lance, Shachabula Mlalele ukuthi nawe ube ingxenye yalo hlelo lethu. We really are excited. Well, without wasting any further time, let's talk about the Office of the Family Advocate. Memoabi, your office is one that's really changing people's lives in many, many ways, and really rendering services that South Africans really, really need. This office mandate King Mesiabi Matobe.
Let me put it this way for you, Karabo. You know, when two elephants fight, it is the grass that suffers. Now, when two adults who are having a disputes over parental rights and responsibilities, there is a child or children in the middle. When they go to court, the adults know how to pursue their own cases, probably with the assistance of their lawyers, and then the child is lost somewhere between the cracks that happen. And sometimes the child becomes so prejudiced that at the end of their childhood, when they want to start adult lives, they spend their adult lives recovering from the scars of their childhood.
Wow.
Now, the Office of the Family Advocate was introduced as a neutral third party. It is made up of lawyers and social workers that we call family counselors to assist and advise the courts whenever there is a dispute before the court between two parents over parental responsibilities and rights. The family advocate goes in as the one that represents the child.
Wow. So there we have it. Now let's talk about some of the services that the Office of the Family Advocate has or renders to South Africans.
Okay. The first one that I have already spoken about is in litigation matters. Right. When matters are before the court, the family advocates would write a report which will guide the court as to what should happen to the children. The court will look into that report and decide what to do with the children when the court gives its order. That is the first thing that we call litigation cases. The second thing is in mediation cases. We have a new law, well, maybe not so new anymore because it came into operation in 2007. We call it the Children's Act. It has introduced mediation into our dispute resolution mechanism in the country. People are able to approach the family advocate and request for mediation without even having to go to court. Okay. Particularly fathers who never married the mothers of their children, what we popularly call fathers of children born out of wedlock. When their parental rights and responsibilities are somehow interfered with, they can come to the Office of the Family Advocate and ask us to conduct a mediation to assist them to bring parental responsibilities and rights back on balance. Then the other area is matters that are before the Children's Court or any other court. The court can order us to convene a family group conference. You know, in African culture in particular, the family is not just the nuclear family where there's just mom and dad and the children. Very many other people become involved in the life of a child.
Right.
So we are able to convene that whole family group conference, get the necessary information that needs to be placed before the court, and then also facilitate agreements with regard to how the life of the child should proceed beyond the dispute. And then there's also international child abduction. There you call the family advocate a central authority. In matters where children are taken to or from our country to countries that we are contracted with, and this is very important, only countries that we are contracted with. When the child goes there is an agreement that the two countries will create a speedy and easy mechanism to secure the return of the child to the country from which they were taken, or where contact is broken down, we can restore contact between the child and the parent that is in a different country.
Mm-hmm. All right, 0800 142 446. I think this is a perfect line to actually, perfect time rather, to actually open up the lines. Should you need to ask a question or two, you're more than welcome to do that. 0800 142 446, 0800 142 446. That number is a toll-free number if you're going to be calling from a telecom line. Otherwise, if you're using your cell phone, you can call us in and we'll take your details down and call you back, and that way we'll be saving you costs. So, 0800 142 446 nomora na mogala. Khopela le di message tjalna tjelnya go gore le di romela ka Twitter le ka dira fela jwalo DOJCD_ZA. That's our Twitter handle, as well as our Facebook page at the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development. Mhlomo go na le issue tjeleng gore you are facing them at the present moment with regards to maybe your children, or maybe your child, for instance. Maybe go na le disputes you don't have answers to at the present moment. We might be of help this evening, and hence we've brought in our two guests this evening, Mesiabi Matope as well as Ndate Kunene. They'll be answering some of those questions. And I would like to specifically ask, gentlemen, let's call in. Well, I mean, I don't know about these days, because a problem is a problem and it hits across all genders. So everybody is the same, especially when you're talking about equal parenting. The problems are the same in both men and women. So let's deal with these issues. You want to remain anonymous, you can do that as well. You don't have to give us your name. You can be anonymous, but let us help you, and that's the reason why we are here. 0800 142 446, Twitter handle DOJCD_ZA. Apparently on Instagram as well at DOJCD_ZA. I see my producer, our social media has taken a notch higher. Kenziteli Instagram there as well. The Department of Justice and Constitutional Development, that's our Facebook page, and you can reach us there. All right, we've spoken about some of the services the department is offering, the mediation of cases, parental rights and responsibilities, and we're going to break them down as we go along during the show. But here's one that really interests me. Key issue tradition, and I heard you mentioning there's a part where you can invite both family groups into a family sort of group meeting to sort out perhaps a dispute that's there. And I wonder how far tradition plays a role in terms of this. When we deal with tradition and do you have any clashes sometimes when it comes to some traditions that differ in terms of what the Constitution says?
Yes. Typically, in cases of unwed fathers, in some cultural practices where the mother gets married to somebody else who is not the child's father. And during the lobola negotiations, there's agreement that there's a beast, we call it a beast in African law, that goes towards the child. Then the practice of money.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, with that additional beast, the husband of the mother acquires guardianship over that child in terms of traditional practices.
Right.
But in terms of the law, the father's rights cannot be curtailed unless a competent court finds that the father's rights, there is justification for them to be curtailed. So we normally, when we try to mediate, we find that they say no, the mother has become married with the child. Mm-hmm. The child belongs to the new family, and the father cannot have rights. But we have fall back on the constitution, because the constitution says where any practice is in disagreement or disharmony with the constitution of the country, then that practice cannot stand the test of time. Therefore, the natural father of the child is still entitled to his parental rights.
All right. I think kuzoba mnandi this evening. Sizokhuluma. We are going to talk. I'm very excited. 0800 142 446. Let's take callers quickly. And we've got one coming from George. It's Jason. Good evening to you, Jason.
Thanks.
Jason, what is your question, sir? Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you. Grabo, it's nice talking to you, and thank you for the program tonight.
All right, let's move over and we take Ukoli calling from Radio Riverside. Let's try to get Jason back on the line, gentlemen. Ukoli?
Good evening, Karabo. How are you?
I'm very well. Thank you so much for calling in. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, and good evening to your guests as well. My question for the evening will be, Karabo, the office of the family advocate, how different is it from the maintaining court? And then secondly, the office is celebrating their 21st anniversary. Are there any programs that they have in store for people who doesn't even know about the existence of this office, or to educate them what the office stands for?
Thank you so much, calling from Radio Riverside. I really appreciate that. And Jason, we're going to try to get you back on the line very, very quickly. 0800 142 446. 0800 142 446. That's our telephone number. Otherwise, you can reach us on Facebook at the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development Twitter handle, DOJCD_ZA, DOJCD_ZA. So those are the two questions from Koli and Tatukunene. Don't worry, I'm coming to you now. I'm coming to you now. We're going to be talking. All right. So those two questions from Koli, wanting to know the difference between the Office of the Family Advocate, the maintenance courts. That's the first one. Second one being, Agri Valley, we've done so much work in the past 25 years. Brilliant work, even to start with. Any programs that we have going forth in order to bring awareness to people about this office?
To celebrate our 25 years of existence, we have dedicated the whole of the October month to reach primarily people who are not necessarily legally represented. When we took stock of our history, we realized that the cases that reach us are people who have got access to legal representation. And we felt that the people that need us more, the grassroots people, we are really not reaching them. That is why we've dedicated this whole month of celebration. We celebrate by sending out the message about the Office of the Family Advocate to people. And of course, going forward, we will continue with public awareness and education programs. Mm-hmm. All right. The second question was the difference between the maintenance court and the Office of the Family Advocate. The maintenance court is a dedicated court that deals with issues of child support mainly, or in where there was a divorce and an order for a spousal support was incorporated as part of the decree of divorce. So it is the contribution of towards the maintenance or upbringing of a child, whereas the Office of the Family Advocate is an office that deals with parental disputes. However, and I'm trying to simplify this, in 1998, the Maintenance Act was amended to include the involvement of the Office of the Family Advocate. Whenever a maintenance court hearing a maintenance case is of the view that the opinion of the family advocate is required, remember the Office of the Family Advocate will focus on the best interest of the child. We are not bothered with very much with the quantum as to how much this one should be contributing to meet the other one halfway.
Right.
But primarily we look at the best interest of the child. Then the court can give it an order and say, family advocate, please give me a report and highlight the following issues regarding the best interest of the child. Equally with domestic violence court, the act was also similarly amended. Domestic violence issues, there comes a point where it becomes necessary that one of the parties gets ordered maybe to leave the matrimonial home, but there are children. The dispute is between the adults. Then the court hearing that domestic violence matter can, when necessary, say give an order and say, the family advocate, please work out issues of the best interest of the child. That would be maybe issues that impact on care and contact of the child. So primarily the difference is that maintenance court looks at support, and the Office of the Family Advocate looks at care, contact and guardianship issues.
I beg your pardon. 27 just after 6 o'clock. If you've just joined us, welcome to it. This is our broadcast that happens every Thursday and is brought to you courtesy of Government Communication and Information System, the GCIS, together with the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development. And we're having two guests in the studio, Kim Messi Abimatope, and she's from the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development, as well as Tate Kunene, and she's coming from the organization that's called the Dads in the Picture. And I'm going to be chatting to him just now shortly with regards to some of the issues that we are discussing this evening. But before I do that, let me take one caller calling all the way from Soshanguve, just around the corner actually. Mpo, good evening to you, Mpo. It's a very good evening to you, Mpo.
Hi, Likai Papa.
Rona la Mpo.
Reteng Papa. Kim Pomo Soshanguve ne?
Aha.
Antat. Kinali potso mo. Potso ya ka ke ratang go e butlisa ke gore ke na le malome e le gore o ile a tlhokagala. So ga tlhokagala ra kra gore o tlhokagala ana le bana ba ile gore mma bona a gang a banyala. So now my question is, hey lo gore rena as part of the family we are willing gore re tie bana bale ba be part of us. Go ya ka molao wa justice, what are we supposed to do as a family?
All right, thank you so much. When I was in Po, we'll definitely answer your question. Thank you very much. 0800 142 446. Keore Potso from Mpo, calling all the way from Soshanguve. Uncle who's passed on Alabana, but the uncle never married to Mewabana. But now the family, the uncle, or the family of the man, Baba took their responsibility to stay with the child. And it was one of the questions actually I was thinking about. Issue who Kikimang Atafiwang first preference of taking care of the child or staying with the child, for that matter, in a case Mpo, for instance.
You see, when you operate within the parameters of the Children's Act, you always have to keep focus on the child, and any relationship that is deemed to be in the best interest of the child will be promoted. But the family, the Mpo's family, can approach their nearest children's court and ask that court to confer certain parental rights and responsibilities to them. The test that that request must pass is that such conferment will be in the best interest of the child. you'll see when you look at the act itself, it makes mention of co-holders of parental responsibilities and rights. So people who do not by law automatically have those parental responsibilities and rights, such as natural parents, then they can become co-holders of those responsibilities and rights, but they must ask the court to confer it, or where there is agreement, again they can also get into a parenting plan arrangement, which the Office of the Family Advocate can assist them to develop and sign and even register with us, so that whenever they want to change it, they do not have to go back to court. They can come to us and ask us to look at clause so and so and amend it in the following way, and that we can do with them.
All right, Tadukunen, I'm coming to you.
I'm patient.
Hold on for me. I'm coming to you. Let me take two callers quickly, and maybe there could be a question coming from the callers. You could jump in. Let's see. Frank from Uppington. Good evening to you. Good evening, Frank. Frank
Hello?
from. Okay, I think it's Oma from Klerksdorp that I'm hearing right now. Good evening to you, Ozoma.
Yes.
Oma, please, can you shut down your radio? I can hear myself in the background.
Okay, I'm doing so. Okay, thanks.
All right, cool stuff. Let me just encourage you as a listener that when you do call in, please make sure that your radio is down so we don't get that interference that we're hearing right now. Oma, are you done?
Yes, I'm done.
All right, 100%. What is your question?
My question is, it's a problem actually. I've been married for 28 years, and my husband left us for 8 years. I'm staying with my 2 boys. Then 2-3 years ago, he decided to divorce. He's staying with another woman. He decided to divorce. And on the other hand, he's not paying maintenance for the children. As the children were over 18, and the court insisted that if the child is over 18, they have to open their own file. Then I opened my file. So the maintenance that I'm getting is for myself, not for the children, because he talked to the children that they must not take him to court. Fine. And he decided to divorce. When it comes to the pension fund, he told me that the money that I'm supposed to get, the 50%, it's too much for him, according to the new GEPS. Then he canceled the divorce. Then I decided to go on with the divorce. Now I'm standing with the question that my children now are panicking, are asking me, Mama, when you divorce Dad, where are we going to stay? If Dad can say we must sell the house, where are we going to stay? I said to them, I don't know, my children, because he's got a place to stay. Now, when he said the house has to be sold, where are we going to stay? But that is not the court settlement. That is what we have been discussing with the children. If there can be any possibility of saying, okay, because you're getting my 50%, even the house can be sold and all those things. So I want to know from the people there that is it possible that he can say that the house must be sold, of which is 8 years now, without maintaining the children, without maintaining the house? So I just wanted clarification so that maybe I can explain to the child this is what's going to happen after I file for the divorce.
All right. Also, Ma, are you married in community of property?
Yes.
Okay. All right, just stay on the line for me. Just stay on the line, just briefly. If we have a follow-up question, we'll ask you.
How old are the children?
How old are your children? You said they're above 18 at the moment, right?
Yes.
But how old exactly are they?
It's about 4 or 5 years ago. The last born is now 22, and the firstborn is 30.
The firstborn is how old?
30 years.
30.
Are they dependent?
Yes.
All right. Now, here's the tricky part, especially when we're dealing with issues of maintenance, like we heard in our last show. Are they dependent? Are they self-sufficient? Are they doing stuff? Are they working or not?
Okay, the older one that is 80, he's working. He's the one who is maintaining us as I'm unemployed.
Okay, and then that.
Working.
Yeah.
The second one, he dropped out from school because of this incident. He couldn't pay the school fees for the child. So the child is dropped out. He couldn't finish his N6.
All right. Stay on the line for me, Osumpo. What's our response there, Ms. Yami Matope?
Marriage in community of property entails, upon divorce, equal sharing of assets and liabilities, ne? Go shiriwa dikoloto and whatever it is that they own. Now, if I understood you well, Mama, your worry ke the house, ne? Your options are you either can retain the house and after establishing its value, pay him 50% of the net value of the house.
Right.
The net value would be where there is an outstanding bond and so on. The bond must first be settled, and then if there's any small amount remaining after settlement of the amount owing to the bank, that would be the net value. If it's a paid up house, then you just value it and determine how much each of you are going to get. If you are able to raise that half share of his money, then you can retain the house and give him the money. Now, and for that reason, you are also entitled to half of his pension fund. And you also said that you are unemployed, you can claim spousal maintenance over and above the maintenance for the children. You must just prove that that you are not in a position to support yourself, and then the court will consider your personal circumstances and determine whether or not you should be getting spousal maintenance. Then the other issue that you raised was the issue of area maintenance. Skoloto sa maintenance asibole, ma'am. If your children want to go to court, the advice you got from the court is correct, because they are no longer children and they are no longer subjects of the Children's Act. They must make their own applications for maintenance, even if it is area maintenance. Okay. So yeah, it can be quantified who determine where hore ke bokae incoming iPads, and then he will have to pay it. And you mentioned GEPF. I suppose he's a member of the GEPF. Yeah. So GEPF, you should also go for an order or to get half of his pension fund and put your claim with GEPF to pay you out half of his pension interests.
Right.
So it's possible that I can go to GEPF even though we have not yet made court settlement, or is it after the court settlement?
No, after the divorce has been granted.
Yeah.
Okay. Then one other question that I wanted to ask is that I got a heart attack due to marital problems. So they've inserted something in my heart, so I can't even work hard work because I'm on chronic medication. So my question is, due to that, as the doctors have said, it's caused by the marital problems. So is it possible that he can take me out of the medical aid?
When you claim your spousal maintenance, you can incorporate your medical expenses, because it is not just limited to a specific area of contribution. Anything that you require towards your maintenance, you can claim. So you can either get an order that he keeps you in his medical aid, or you work out a fair amount of what it would cost for you to get your own medical aid, and then claim that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Also, I trust that we were of help, and all the best. Okay. All right, 0800 142 446, 0800 142 446. That's our number to dial. Otherwise, you can check us out on Twitter. I'm going to be taking some of your Twitter messages now shortly, as well as your Facebook messages, so be in touch with us. Yeah.
Yes.
And ba re bo go na le mmusho ba reng go mo go na le mmusho ra gore go na le se seng se se swang. And we can check out some of these problems, are not happening by themselves. Two parties are involved here. Now, some of the issues you pick up. What type of complaints or what type of assistance do you normally get approached with from and who are facing problems as far as the parental rights is concerned and so forth? What give us a picture of those?
Thanks for this opportunity. There's actually two. There's actually two types of, actually both mothers and fathers approaches. Firstly, bomme, when they come to us, it's actually because one, the father is not paying maintenance, and they want to know what is it that they can do. Secondly, it's when they actually want the father to be active in the child's life. Just spend time, lingwana. But unfortunately, not even the law forces the fathers to do that. And which also goes back to the issue of maintenance. Maintenance is actually the wrong word to use, because when we look at the greater scheme of things, it's actually not maintenance per se, but rather financial support, because that's all that's required from the father. If he can afford to pay 10,000 rand per month without denting his salary, he'll gladly do it and not be active in the child's life, because that's what the system requires him to do. And that's our biggest challenge. We want to say to him, put your issues aside, Lima Mangwana. Focus on the children. The children need you the most. Because if you look at it, Rona as Bashiman, we need our fathers to help us guide and chart the way as we go. I mean, as we achieve things, we need our fathers to be there to encourage us. As a girl child, you need to hear the words, I love you, from your own father. That is why now you find Banyana Babang, they go out in the streets and they get into relationships with men who are a similar age to their fathers, because they're looking for that fatherly affection, and then they get sugar daddies. Those are the challenges that we have. But coming back then to Abo Baba, I'm request Swatolai, you would find Uguti, for example, we've got one where Ubaba umntwana uti ngithengela umntwana impahla ngifuna ukumbhadalila maintenance. Actually, I am paying a maintenance, but umama akayicollect, umama akayifuni, because yena she got married, and then she's saying ukuthi akafuni ukuthi ulokhunje ubaba umntwana abe involved, because uzodisturb that new family unit. So then it becomes a challenge for ubaba makengazi initially ukuthi we angayapi. We also had another one, Owasuga, from La Gauteng all the way to the Eastern Cape, trying to resolve the issue, your excess yomntwana. But simply because extended family was involved, Beba prevented that issue up until we then said, you know what, this is the path that you need to go, which is what is helping us in a partnership as in a family office of the family advocate.
Right, yeah.
We're able to pick up a phone and say, Me Matope Siabi, what is it that we can do? How can you help us guide this situation forward in such instances? And I must say, they've been very helpful in helping us chart the way forward and helping dads, especially now with this international abduction. It's a pity that a lot of our neighboring countries are not party to it, because if they were, that would also help greatly, because you do have mothers who want to deny access so much to the father, or they would even skip the country and take the child elsewhere, so that ubaba angezukuba no access yomntwanakhe. And Abu Baba, those are the requests that they come to. There's one in particular. Obaba got divorced, and there was a parenting plan that was drafted. And then Umama over the years went and requested Uti the excess yomntwana ibe reduced to excess yomntwana no baba ibe reduced. So ubaba now gets to have 2 hours on a Saturday supervised. That is also it deprive umntwana if he access gababake. What are you going to do in 2 hours?
Exactly.
On a Saturday.
Yeah.
But then ubaba, not knowing what he could do, he ended up giving up.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to fight. At one point, Uti, he went to this lady's place, Namapois, 2 young guys. Magefika lapiana umama Uti, no, I know Commissioner so and so. Do you know that guy?
Yeah.
And then these 2 young ones thought, ish.
Manja jobs at risk.
No, sorry, Puti, Uzasborn.
Really?
They felt good. I mean, if they tell you about your boss, it's almost like threatening you. But it's a pity at that time, this daddy didn't know avenues that were open to him. So with this partnership, we've also come back and said to him, you know what? Because he's then subsequently remarried and So we've then subsequently told him, you know what? When you're ready, come to us and let's help you review all the processes. Draft a family plan. Know what is it that you want right now before we even take the process forward. So that Mazastala the process, it's then easier for you. Right. And then I just want to touch on one thing. You said men don't talk. Men don't talk in the presence of women. Give men enough time and space, they'll talk. And actually, more than women. Because the pain that they harbor inside is so deep that not even a radio show could contain that conversation. It's a conversation, Lapo, you'd have to put them aside in their own men's camp and have them let it out.
You mentioned the men's camp. I'm very interested to find out a little bit more about that. We'll talk about it just now, shortly. Jason, apparently you are back. Jason, good evening to you. Okay, Jason is not there. How many producers do I have? Okay, let's go to Uppington and we're chatting to Frank. Frank, good evening to you. Frank, good evening. Okay, we're moving on. 13 just before 7 o'clock, 0800 142 446. And those Facebook messages to come through now if we can. 0800 142 446. Facebook, the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development. Otherwise, Twitter, it's DOJCD_ZA. Angabodi, that's why I'm saying, where are those Facebook pages? Angabodi land on my screen. So please try to send them through. So let's talk a little bit about that Ben Camp. It's something that is it something that you guys are doing that you've seen works? Guti, about beslisa baba open up nje kukhulunywe nje.
There was actually one that was held when this past weekend. We had partnered with these guys, bikers, the Cross. So there's an annual men's camp that's held. So we take the men, I just go on their own, and they just get to open up. We share about spiritual issues, health, and basically the well-being of the male, and then give them a turn then to open up old wounds, because Mawanigeza a chance to talk, and not give them that sense of you'll be judged. Allow a man to cry, or as express, because in expressing himself we are both. And you become so relieved afterwards. But the more a man starts to talk, the better he feels, and the more he still wants to talk, because we are because from an early age in your teenage years, you're told Karabo, don't talk like a woman. You talk too much. Karabo, suck it in. Karabo, you're a man. Come on, So Maukula, you then grow up with that mentality. Maukala, they say, you're a sissy. And so we are cool and a tendency lay. And what we do, Tina, as Abu Baba, is whenever sislimala and we can't express it, we find toys that we can play with. Abanye Abu Baba, they would use sex. Abanye, they would use various different things, games, cars, money, business, whatever. But utola, a way you escape from it, because that's the only way ayaziyo at the time. And once he runs back into his cave, akasafuna ukuphuma, kuba nzima.
Yeah.
That's why these men's camp are so crucial for Abu Baba, because at that point, omunye mageshera, he then thinks, oh, so that's where the source of my problem could come. And then bese nayaqala yakhuluma, and so on and so on. So it builds Abu Baba up, and it also opens them up. And so what we also encourage as well, ukuthi masnama events, usually amanye swayenzela la Pretoria National Botanical Gardens, ama picnics, we're saying, Daddy, bring your child, let them see you, who you are, and interact naye, copy from other dads, seeing them active.
All right. Dads and tradition. I'm just giving you those two words. Think about them. I'll tell you why I'm telling you those words. But we're going to deal with that issue. But before then, let me take Mutale Pule from Senegal. Mutale Pule? Mutale Pule from Senegal? All right, I'm moving over then to my Facebook messages here. Thank you so much, John Macmillan, for listening through. And he wants to know, fatherlessness is one of the biggest problems in South African society. Now, he says the majority of the children grow up without any involvement of their fathers. Fathers have a much bigger role to play than merely being donors. And how can family advocates, the government and the community encourage fathers to take up their parental responsibility? That's John Macmillan. So that's the first question there. Nina Mensing wants to know. Okay, I'll get back to Nina's question. Let's maybe deal with this one. Yeah, John Macmillan, very quickly.
Mr. Macmillan is very correct in what he is saying. You know, children need both parents. The role of a father in the child's life, it's not just to contribute financially or to contribute maintenance. That is why I said in the beginning that when children become adults, instead of being able to live adult lives, they spend adult lives recovering from the scars of their childhood. One of those scars is absent father, because also children who grow up with both parents are less likely to commit crime and to become substance abusers. They become more stable and more well-rounded individuals. So we also encouraging mothers not to prevent fathers from having contact with their children, or preventing children getting to know their fathers. Whenever a father is able and willing to be identified and play a role in the child's life, whether that father pays maintenance, whether that father has had the mother how much, the child must come first and have a relationship with the child.
Okay, but now, here's the thing. Why do we say hore bomme leska khanetsa bontate go bona bana? I mean, what gives them the power to do that? Does the law say primarily people who need to stay lebana, or what is happening there? Because now it really bothers me issue the final say what's happening with the children, married or not. But finishing either maintenance issues or whatever it is. But where does this thing come from? Primarily make the decision makers.
Look, we have come from a legal system which was embracing the principle of maternal preference rule. Prior to our constitution coming into place, it was part of our law that the maternal preference rule, the father would be looked at only if the mother is not able to look after the child. Now, our constitution has brought in equality between the genders, the clauses like non-segregation, non-sexism, and so on. And the best part is that it is now part of our Children's Act. Parents are equal. There isn't a parent that comes in superior to the other parents. A parent is a parent, irrespective of their gender. So we need to also break that myth. And very many people also believe that when you go to the office of the family advocate, you're going to get told that the child must live with the mother.
Yeah.
That is not so. because that is not part of our law. We look at the child, we look at the needs of the child, and then we look at how best the needs of the child will be realized and make a recommendation to the court. But a parent is a parent. How it comes that children end up with their mothers, I suppose, because the mother gives birth and she is the one that is going to be playing an active role, an active primary role when the baby is still small. Where possible, the father should be involved from day one. The father must start bonding with the child even before birth. It makes life easier because when the child is born, the father is already part of the central world of the child. And when the child starts forming primary relationships, the father is part of those primary relationships that the child forms. Those relationships are psychological. They manifest when the child grows up, but they are very, very important. So fathers must also refrain, and that is why we're partnering with organizations like Dads in the Picture. Fathers must not take the back seat and say, I'm not a woman, I don't know how to look after a child. The woman, before she has a child, she also did not know how to look after a child. So fathers must just take up their place in the lives of their children, become involved, and break away from this myth that mothers are the preferred parent.
Yes,
I can feel those two words.
Yes, Daddy.
And a Mema Topemon is leading to that. Only issue right there when it comes to tradition.
Mhm.
Let me give you an example. Let's also know I want damage. Go for now a scenario of somebody who's not married now. I get
Yes.
who never married the lady. I want damage, so therefore got some graying or you have no say morning, or because you did not pay things out on a little bit damage and nonsense like, well, maybe you did not pay lots out on a little bit damage, for instance. But here the constitution is saying we're equal. But okara issue now, how do we deal with that? Because like you're saying, there are dads going look, they're standing up and say, right now we're fathers. Some of them some of them, I mean, you deal with them, you know them on a daily basis. We are fathers, we want to take care of our children, we want to have an input, but these things sitting and say they yeah.
I can see you're very spirited on that. If I may just share this, our pastor likes to say, Uguti, when he shares the word, he's going to share it and challenge a tradition, and tradition is going to die screaming. Masingapega, a tradition is basically trades that are passed down from one generation to the next. And when you have traditions from a society that was oppressed, that thought in a particular mindset, and then those traditions are also taken and filtered through down to our current generation, surely those traditions are not applicable. They don't have a place in our society. No, we're not saying Uguti Manje boys should go around impregnating amantombazane irresponsibly.
Yeah.
And that's why we also advocate Uguti from the early age of 18 years, when a boy is matured enough to think and reason for himself, we can start calling him daddy. Because lapo we understand Uguti, what does it mean to take care of a younger child. So we start inculcating that culture. But now we come back and say, Abantu, our daddy, they're still being oppressed by our traditions akdala in a democratic society. A society that has said, Sianbona Abu Baba, who want to partake in your children's life. Nai I backing from a government. We are saying we've provided the resources. I mean, there's the Family Act, there's the Children's Act. There's so many acts as enabler Abu Baba uguti babonakale uguti nabo they are needed in society. What's the point of a government going to such extent when we're still gonna obey our traditions that keep Abu Baba away? Okwetalama damage shouldn't be a reason that is used to keep Ubaba
away from the
exactly because lo mntwana loyo uzokhula. That's why manje sesikhona ukubona ama program njengabo uTatakho and a whole lot of others lawa athini okay fine sengikhulile, I'm 30, I'm 40, I've been told ukuthi lo baba ungikhulisile akusuba bami. you know. And then umuntu manje sekaqalela phansi, as umama Mathupi was saying, Siyabe Mathupi was saying, ukuthi manje you find ukuthi instead umuntu ukuthi akhule, he's going back, uthi ngifuna ukuyolungisa the past, but now time does not wait for him to go into his past.
Yeah.
So sekabuya manje sekatshintshe isibongo, wenza imisebenzi, and they go through all these things just to feel that connection with their biological father. Kanti, if from the onset you had said, ukuthi yazini, you did this wrong, and this is what you need to do, these are your responsibilities, how can we help you, enable you ukuthi uzobhadala lama damage, but at the same time you will be part of your child's life, whether we one or by two, wena you will, even if we have to drag you,
yeah,
ukuthi uzoba part of your child's life, you are, because ngeke thina sizokukhulisela umntwana while wena you galavantile ngaphandle.
Yeah.
Because in that way also we're raising irresponsible daddies.
Right.
Ukuthi go impregnate, ungabhadala ama damage ubaleke.
Yeah.
Yabo.
All right, let's take two last callers quickly. From George, we've got Anonymous, all the way from George. Good evening to you, Anonymous in George. Motalepule from Senegal. Hi. All right. What is your question?
Kilega isu court and court even fumana or no the family dimension ngwana ale mo so kamera na go singa bigibwa di social worker because ke bona or no thelete e from ngwana ba bonwa aba e sebedisi ka tsela ine pa and then bigibina case ya social worker no a to dula le nne so but see now kinale 7 months ke di mo maintain anta dula le nne ke be gona re ke metsi ke be ke re ke stop ke sebeta ba ya maintain but in the tsala pele ne ke kopa dikeletso rena ke jwa.
No worries, we're going to sort it out now. Dr. Gunene, thank you so much for your call. Dr. Gunene, you want to take that one?
I'm going to leave a bigger portion of it to May Gam. But
right.
What I want to say quickly is that maintenance, here's the one thing that we need to realize, Rona Bontat. If the court says 500 rand and Eliwa and Avele, you pay 500 rand. If you can afford that and it's stretching your budget, then fine. But think about it. If you were to take that child, how much more are you going to pay? Isn't it better in that case than ukuthi either uthathe lo mntana uhlale nawe and be responsible or pay more? But I'll let take the rest of the question.
Yeah, ne?
Okay. He sounds like the child now. If
that's what it sounded like, yeah.
Right. A maintenance order can be rescinded or set aside or suspended by the court that made it. So o tshwanetse a khutlele ko court e tshwereng the actual order ya patalang ka yona and do an application either for suspension or for cancellation. We rescind an order is the total cancellation of it, and then the court will listen to mabaka a gagwe, the obvious one being that the child is now with him, and then that order will become suspended.
All right, let's see if we can wrap it up just before 10 past. I'm going to push questions very, very quickly. Let's try to answer them. Ndogozo via Facebook. What happened if the parents are divorced and the mother has full custody of the child, but the child wants to stay with the father?
He doesn't say how old the child is.
No.
Okay, the Children's Act emphasizes the voice of the child. It says in any matter which affects the welfare of the child must be heard. So if that child wants to go and stay with the father, that divorce order must be varied. That says the court that made it, they must go back to it, ask for the court to change that order, that the child goes and resides with the father. And it will be referred to the office of the family advocate most likely, and the social workers at the office of the family advocate will interview the child and advise the court accordingly.
The best interest of the child. What if the child does not realize that whatever decision is taken, it's in their best interest? I'll give you a scenario. Maybe the court decides, or no, you're going to stay with your mother, okay, after some consultations, which, for their best interest. But they don't realize that they want to go stay with the father in that situation,
we will still recommend to the court, and that is why we're not saying the rights of the child, we are saying the best interest of the child. In certain instances, yes, our recommendation will not agree with what the child wants. Typically, a teenage child knows both its parents, and Obatla Ujola wants to be out of the house after dark and so on and do things which are unbecoming. He knows which one of the two parents is the stricter parent, and when we interview him, he will say, no, I want to stay with the less stricter parent. But then we are going to look at other things. The best interest of the child entails a whole range of other things. We are going to look scholastically, what does this child need? In extramurally, what does the child need? Spiritual guidance and social guidance, what does the child need? So it will not be just this one aspect, and then we'll put that whole complete picture before the court and say, even though the child says the following, we think it is in the child's best interest that the following happens.
Right, 6 o'clock, 6 minutes past 7 o'clock. I nearly said 6 o'clock. I wish it was 6 o'clock. We start all over again, because this is quite a nice topic, really. Guys wants me to take the last caller, Mararang from Uppington. That's our last one. Mararang, good evening to you. Mararang.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we're running out of time. What is your question, very quickly?
Okay, can I ask now?
Yeah, no.
Okay, I want to ask that, does the family advocate have more power than traditional custom laws? Whereby, yes.
All right, thank you so much. So and I think we will be who's got more power? Maybe I was scared to put it that way. Yeah,
honestly, I would say, again, repeating what Matupi Siabi has been saying, it's in the best interest of the child. So I think that's what the traditional leaders need to think about first, even before we go to the issue of power. No, let them look at what is in the best interest of the child, because currently our democratic system does not. I mean, we can. Let me not even go there. I'll pass.
Yeah. I think our constitution also says traditions and customs will be recognized up to the point where they start clashing with the constitution.
Right.
Anything that does not clash with the constitution will stand. But where tradition and custom starts contradicting the constitution, that tradition and custom will not stand.
Right. Okay, there we go. And that's how we come to the end of our broadcast. I'm not taking that caller. We're running out of time. It's 8 minutes after 7 o'clock. And, Mema Tope Oboletzeka, maybe the girl child, if it's that age, I'm prepared for my wife. No, let us start. I don't have a problem. I've put means in place. Infrared. I'm just joking. So that's how we come to the end of our show this evening. Thank you so much to everybody who's called in, all the Facebook messages, all the Twitter messages coming through. We really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much to the radio stations that have partnered with us this evening, making this broadcast a possible one. To my producers, social media producers, and thank you to you, Mama Tope. Thank you to Dr. Kunen as well for having taken time to be with us this evening.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
All right, from myself, Karabalans, Storana Sabapil Matevele Gerai. Let us start our Wadamona Mashitago Nteguale. Shapagan infrared. I don't play that game. Let's meet again next time, Thursday, and enjoy the rest of your evening.